Hello, David Votta. How the devil are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
All right, thank you. Long time no see. Now, guys, we are here with ARLA Royalty. So we are here with David Votta. He is the Vice President of ARLA, which is the Association of Residential Letting Agents, which for you that don't know is the sort of regulatory body for letting agents, our industry here in the UK. So really quite a thing to become vice president and president. So well done that, first of all, David. Really excited when I saw your name coming up there. And you'll be president in 2 years?
2022, yeah, 2 years.
Oh, hopefully we'll be out of lockdown by then.
I hope so. I would really hope so.
But David's here to talk to us about his journey. Now, he's been a letting agent for many, many years, and he's based down in the Kent area. And he took the huge leap as well of jumping from employed world to self-employed world just 2 years ago, which when you've got a family is no mean feat. And I want to hear his journey, his story of why and how, the trials, the tribulations, but more importantly, his secret to success. Because what you may not know about David is that David is absolutely everywhere. He is all over social media. He fills my news feed. I'm thinking, my God, this guy doesn't sleep. And obviously he's using that to really, really push his name out there, push his business out there. And of course, we're here on social media listening to this or watching this or on the podcast listening to this. So we want to hear how he's doing it. So we thought he was a really important guest for any business owner to find out how he's made that transition and how he's found success. So David, thank you so much for joining us here today. This is absolutely awesome. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So tell me in your words, what made you get into this business, first of all? When was it and what made you get into it?
It's a weird story when you hear it. I mean, I was working as a postman for Royal Mail and I was doing acting part-time because I always fancied a bit of acting. I remember going to Port Izzy down in Cornwall several years ago on a little holiday with a girlfriend, and I saw Doc Martin with Martin Clunes being filmed, and I thought, these extras are having a lovely time. All they do is get told what to do, have a little drink, and they get paid for it. So after that, I'm always one of these people, Sally, that I'll always give it a go. I'll go for it. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So I went home after the holiday, signed up for an extras agency, and then I went and did a load of extra work, then saw some real good big name actors, and I decided I want to be an actor. I want to take it to the next level. So I studied method acting, which is what Brando and De Niro and all that did. And I studied that in London on a part-time basis while still working at the post office. So getting up at 4 in the morning, going to work for 5, do my delivery, come home at 1, get changed, hop on the train to London, 2 hours on the train, go for an audition or my acting class in the evening. So it's quite full on. And then it just kind of went from there. And I fell in love with a play called Glengarry Glen Ross. It's a David Mann Pulitzer Prize winning play. And it was real estate in, I think, Chicago and in the 80s. And it was really cutthroat, but I just loved the whole premise of it. And I thought, I don't want to be a postman anymore. I want to be an estate or letting agent, because I would see them out and about. And I thought, like everyone does, looks like a good job.
It's easy, isn't it, David?
Yeah, it's easy. Piece of cake. How hard can it be?
Just tell us something easy you've done.
Yeah, I'm a postman out in all weathers wearing a shorts. How hard can it be? So I then went for a job at an independent estate agency with no experience. They took me on because of my enthusiasm and wanting to do well. And that was 5th of October 2009. And then it just grew from there. And they put me through my qualification straight away. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, so I failed them miserably. But then over a period of time, something just clicked in my mind, and I just thought, I really like this. I want to make it work. And then I just went from there, really. That's how it started.
What would you say to people starting out in the industry now? Do you think it's harder now than it was in 2009, or do you think it's Why would you say that?
Well, you think in 2009 that the legislation and regulations that were there then compared to there are now is just absurd. And I remember an ARLA conference that we went to a few years ago, and it was, I don't know if you remember it, Sally, it was Robert Bulwell up there doing a snakes and ladders thing of all the legislation that had changed, and it'd go on to the different years. And it's absurd, for setting up a tenancy now, all the little checkpoints you have to do. We have checklists for checklists now, because you get it wrong, you're in a real deep water. So yeah, it's harder now than it was 10 years ago. You've got so many different bits that have come in. I won't, the legislation. We don't want to bore our viewers with the intricate legislation.
Get them to death.
No, absolutely.
So, mean, obviously, what attracted you to being as an estate agent, letting agent? You thought it was easy? Is that what it actually was, or was there more to it than that, do you think?
I thought there was career progression. Where I was at the post office, I was only ever going to be delivering letters. And I just thought, I've always been one of these people, Sally, that I want more out of life. You're only here once, you only get one shot. So I just think you've got to live your life to the full and make the most of it. And I thought, that seems like a good job in which you could grow. And when I started, I never thought that in 10 years' time or 11 years' time, I would own my own estate agency. But it's happened that way. And I just think it attracted me because it looked like a good job. You wear a suit, you look professional, you feel professional, and it's enjoyable. I mean, finding someone in a home is a lovely feeling. You know, someone that's in a tricky situation, whether it's an abusive relationship or whether it's a job change, it's really satisfying. You can change someone's life, Sally, as you know. So that was kind of it, really, to start me off.
So it encapsulated you. So I want to do this. This is what I want to do. But I know you've really embraced learning, because I mean, just for those of you that don't know, I used to be president of ARLA as well, which is the organisation David's part of, and learning is a big thing there. And there's not, I don't want to sound right, there's not many people that embrace learning like you do. Now, I know you're really up there when it comes to the knowledge, the education and the legislation and things. I mean, why do you think that's important in this business and in any business? Why is it important to keep learning and educating yourself all the time?
One phrase, knowledge is power, and it really is. And it's inevitable. Legislation, regulations, they're all inevitable, and they're all things that we have to take seriously and embrace in our day-to-day job. And I think the sooner that somebody embraces that, thinks, well, I need to be ahead of the game. As soon as that comes out, I need to know what's going on. That's what I love about ARLA Property Mark, because they decipher complex legislation and break it down. So you don't have to read a 60-page dossier on the Tenant Fees Act or whatever it is. You can allow your regulatory body to break that down for you. So for me, it's a case of, you've got to be up there, and I always want to be better than everybody else. You know, I'm very competitive from that perspective. I love seeing people do well, and I love bringing people up through the ranks with me. And part of my role as the youngest ever vice president of ARLA Property Mark is I want to encourage that younger generation to accept the fact that it's not just driving around in a nice car and doing fun stuff and working long hours and then work hard to play hard. It's about being that professional that you're responsible for people's lives. You know, I was talking with a landlord about 10 minutes before we come on the call. He's going to bring his portfolio of around 30 odd properties over, because this is a relationship I've been harvesting for a few years. He realizes he trusts me now. I give him a little bit of legislation here and there. And he's like, because he used to be a letting agent as well. And he's like, crikey, I didn't know that. And he appreciates that, because he knows that bringing that portfolio to me, he's in really safe hands.
Why do you feel that, I mean, you're obviously vice president now, so you're speaking to agents all over the UK, which is Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, the whole of the country. Why is it that many people in business, many people don't embrace education? Now, I know the people you're speaking to will be embracing education because they're at the meetings, they're learning it themselves, but not everybody is like that. And I always found it, when I was doing the circuit, really frustrating, the ones that didn't come and didn't learn, and not necessarily ARLA members, but just generally people in business generally don't educate themselves. There's this fixed mindset. I'm seeing people now, it's like, oh no, I've been doing it for 20 years. I know exactly. You can't tell me anything. And it's like, my God, you're so behind. I can actually remember interviewing somebody for a compliance director role for my branch once. And I said to him, I know it's terrible about the tenant fee ban. What do you think about it? He says, oh, yes, terrible. Yeah, he had no idea what I was talking about.
No way.
And I said, what about the Deregulation Act? I mean, what's your views on the Deregulation Act and the changes that's brought in? He went, oh, yes, terrible, yes. I said, what changes have you implemented? He says, oh, well, yes, it's really been difficult. I had no idea.
Well, and that's compliance.
Compliance director. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And he wanted a huge salary, and the guy had no idea. Why? Why do people do that?
They bury their head in the sand, Sally, because we're all very busy, and doing the job we do with all the complex legislation now, we're doing a lot more than what we used to, and we have to deliver that value to our clients. And I'm very big on that. You know, if we're chasing rents, tell the landlord. You know, if we're updating our systems and procedures, tell the landlord. If we've got certain things, you've got to let people know, because on the face value, right? And I don't know if you get this, Sally. We give our numbers to our landlords, our mobile numbers. So it's like, if you want to drop us a text or anything like that, they see that as an open door to contact us at 9 o'clock at night. And some people are like, really sorry to contact you at 9 o'clock at night. I just got a query. It's like, if you were that sorry, you wouldn't contact me at 9 o'clock at night. So my work phone goes in my drawer, and I don't even look at that because that's my family time with my kids and that. But to answer your question, a lot of people bury their head in the sand because they think it won't happen to me, it won't go wrong. I mean, more and more you've got, you've got rogue landlords, you've got rogue agents, and there's the rogue database isn't big enough. It's not fit for purpose at the moment. It will be, and there's things coming in with a regulation of property agents. People will not have a choice, and this is just the lettings industry. There's so many different industries that this applies to that you have to be compliant, and failure to be compliant is not only thousands of pounds in fines, but you're risking people's lives, and you've got to have a conscientious bone in your body and think, if I don't know this, then it could really affect someone. And we mentioned David Cox, and he uses the phrase a lot, if you don't know, you don't know. And that is the trouble. A lot of people, I don't know about that, so it doesn't exist. Whereas if you went to an ARLA regional meeting, or if you went to your company's compliance conference or seminar, whatever they do, or did your online training that companies do offer, then you're aware of this kind of stuff. And do you know what? It's quite nice, Sally, when you actually meet a customer, like a client. I can go out and meet a landlord, and I'm confident that the other agents that have been out won't be able to explain things that I can explain to them. Like I could say, no, you can't do that. And instead of saying, you can't do that, Mr. and Mrs. Landlord, I'll give them an explanation as to why. And it's essential. I mean, we're in an era where people love suing people. And I hate to say it, there's that kind of American culture of where there's blame, there's a claim, and there's a lot of that, and you don't want to fall foul of that. So you've got to have these systems and procedures and training in place.
But that's a perfect example of what I was saying, is that, that you're going out and you know this stuff. Why do the people not know this stuff? Because with regulation of property agents coming, which for those of you who don't know, is the whole industry is being regulated. So all members of staff, directors, principals, directors, everybody will have to be qualified to trade, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
But it's going to put a real cat amongst the pigeons.
Yeah.
There will be those that are and those that aren't, and those that will not and do not want to. But it's actually that, by you having that knowledge, I would imagine, and I would like to guess, that you are winning business that they're not, because of your knowledge. So I don't get why more people don't expand their minds. And
it'll enhance your business level. I mean, I remember I went out to a listing a few years ago, and I remember it well, where I went out to a property and I was on holiday, and then I come back. She instructed this other agent, which is a huge agent locally that've got the monopoly, and she was in her 14-day calling off period, I think, and they went on with the agent less than what I even quoted it at. And I went there to look at the property, and they've gone online, and I said, look, I need to come over and chat to you, because there's all kinds of wrong. I'm not dissing the other agent, but they haven't marketed it in the way I would. Let me show you what I can do. You were going to meet me. Unfortunately, I had a holiday, so I couldn't make that appointment, as you know. So I went to see her. And I'm not joking, Sally, smoke alarms were put in the wrong place, so they were not effective. They weren't on each floor. You had a decked area, which sounds very obvious when I describe it. So you've got a decked area at the back of the house, and then you've got no handrails or balustrades or anything, or steps down, just a sheer drop of like half a metre. And I said to her, so how do you propose on dealing with a tenant if they fall and break their neck? Well, that's what insurance is for. Well, no insurance will cover you for that. She said, oh, well, I'm sure there's a policy. I said, look, put it this way. Say, for example, you've got a girl that's in, I don't know, and I use a really extreme example, the Russian ballet, right? And they go out on the decked area in the summer months, and then they slip off that decking area, fracture their ankle in several places. They can't ever be a ballerina. Their career as a ballerina is over. They want to sue you. What kind of price do you put on that? And how do you feel about that? I said, for the cost of an extra 500 quid, get some handrails and balustrades up. She did it. She instructed me. We let it at £25 higher than what the other agent was doing, and we did it within 14 days. And she exercised her calling off period with the other agent, and it was a win-win, an absolute win. Unfortunately, it's with the other companies I work for, and it's with their management now, so I don't know how that relationship is, but it is knowledge is power, and you could save someone's life, undoubtedly save someone's life.
Absolutely. I was talking to myself and Kate, actually. We were doing a podcast interview this morning with a couple of Australians, because it was late at night for them, stupidly early in the morning for us. which is probably why I'm probably half falling asleep now. Not the light earning of the gods. But anyway, they were talking actually over in Australia, New Zealand, and America that over here in the UK, we have something called let-only clients, which is clients that use estate agents to do the let, but not to manage the property. And usually they opt for that service because they believe that they can do it themselves. And I'm sure, David, you know as well as I do, there's like somewhere between 150, 170 pieces of legislation that are going to apply to that landlord and that let in some way, shape or form. And just for a bit of fun, one of the things I do at landlord seminars is I hold up a nice bottle of champagne or Prosecco or brandy or something, depending on whatever it is. And I say, this can go to the landlord that can name 7 pieces of legislation. And I have yet to find one that can name 7 pieces.
Only 7?
Yeah. And this is people, landlords that have massive portfolios and big HMOs, they can't name 7. So I know that most landlords don't know 7, never mind 170.
Oh, God.
What the interview showed this morning is that in Australia, New Zealand, and in America, let only is a very, very rare thing because the fines for landlords are really heavy. They were saying that if a landlord forgets to register a deposit, for example, it's up to a £40,000 fine.
Wow.
Yeah. So landlords won't tend to go let only, whereas here in the UK, at the moment, the average choice, if you said to a landlord, don't let only fully manage, it's about 50% will choose let only, unless you do what you've just said and you educate them on the fines, banning orders, and all those sort of things. So I think it's really important education for letting.
It's vital. It's vital. And the thing is, you
and landlords.
You hit the nail on the head. I mean, there will be some landlords out there that do know quite a bit, but I know this sounds very generalized, but I'm yet to meet one, you know, and I think you hit the nail on here, around 150 to 170 pieces of legislation, but then let's not forget the regulations that sit under those. So you've got, say, for example, the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. Underneath that, you've got loads. You've got gas safety installations, so many different regulations that sit under the Mother Act, and it boggles my mind. I mean, I still do legal training now. I'll go to a Property Mart online advanced lettings refresher or whatever, and it heightens what you know, which is great. It's like, yeah, I know that, but then it makes you think, actually, I need to re-implement that into my business. So you are forever learning. And the moment you say, I don't need to attend a regional meeting or a training course, is the moment that you're falling behind when everybody else is excelling. And and when Roper comes in, you're right, it will set the cat amongst the pigeons. There'll be some older generation agents that will say, well, I've done it like this for several years. Not that older people will talk like that, but the point is they've done it a certain way. They may not be a bad agent, but they could make one mistake that could, you know, put the last 40 years in their industry. You know, they might have been a great agent for 30, 40 years, but they not adhere to one piece of new legislation. And then that means, oh, yeah, Mr. Smith of Smith & Co. was fantastic back in the day, but, you know, in 2025, he cost someone their life, you know, and do you want that on your conscience? And I think just dedicate that time. So for me in my business, I dedicate a couple of hours a week just to reading, catching up, you know, legislation, legal seminars, all that kind of stuff, because it is fascinating. Although when it comes to Christmas, people are like, David, you're really quiet. I said, well, I haven't got anything to talk about because I don't know anything other than that.
You sound like me, David. My husband says you're quiet. I said, well, what do you want to talk about? Lessons?
Yeah. Give me a call, Sally. I'll talk to you.
Yeah, I'll give you a call. Absolutely. And I think whatever business you're in, and I think, you know, relate this to the broader aspect of businesses here, you've got to keep learning. And I think one of the things I always say is check yourself. When you say, no, I know all that, you know, we've always done it like that. No, we know, we've done it for so many years. Why change? That is exactly the time you need to start thinking, Jesus, I've got to get out of here. Get out of your box, get out of your castle. And, you know, I'm king of my castle. And I've run agency for 30 years. And I can remember between 10 to 15, I thought I knew everything. I was the kingpin. I was the dog's bees. I was like, you know, you can't tell me nothing. And then I looked outside the parapet and thought, oh my God, what's going on out there? And I realized there was this whole world I'd just switched off and just not seen. So I think we're all capable of doing it, but it's a dangerous thing, definitely. Now, I want to talk about your transition from employed to self-employed, because when I first started my business, I was 18 years old. I was responsible to nobody or no one.
Wow.
If I was destitute, I could sleep on somebody's floor. It didn't matter. And I know many people, I didn't, but, you know, I could have done. But, you know, many people, when they start off trading, they usually, no offense, younger, as in not
Yeah.
encumbered with family and children, or they're older and the children have left. But you did it right at that crucial phase of young children and all that sort of stuff. That's really quite something, David. So why and how did you do it?
Well, the funny thing was, I just found my wife just found out she was pregnant with baby number 2, and it was like, oh, excellent. Well, I'm setting up a business.
Oh God, you're crazy.
It's funny. I mean, it's one of those things that behind every great man's a great woman, isn't it? And I'm very fond of that phrase, because my wife is really supportive. You know, we've been through some stuff over the years, and she's been really supportive, and, you know, she's had my back. She's always known that I've had this frustration that I want to do this and I want to excel, but I've been held back. And it's like in the old cartoons where the legs are going really fast, but someone's holding on to them. And it's like, that's me, 100 miles an hour. So it was funny, because I got to the stage of complete frustration, Sally. I was working for a company where I was outgrowing them. You know, my knowledge base they saw was a threat. So they would invite me to a systems and procedures meeting because they felt that I had value as the ARLA regional rep for Kent, and my insight knowledge into the industry, and, you know, me caring about stuff like that. And I had a few things to say, which didn't go down very well, but they were for the good of the business. And I think they could have used me as a weapon and an ally instead of someone that was going against the grain, which I would never go against the grain. I always want what's best for people and our industry, and nothing that I do, you know, I'm very outspoken. I do say it how it is, and I try and say it in a nice way and not come across as, you know, too direct. But yeah, I got invited to this meeting and I was never invited again because, you know, I don't know why, but I thought my input was invaluable. And it's bizarre. And I found that I was being held back, and I wanted to achieve certain things in my life, and I couldn't all the time. I was under that umbrella. So you know, it doesn't make them a bad company. It just makes me not the right fit for that company. So I wouldn't go away and say anything bad about the company. They do what they do. I do what I do. It's up to them how they run their business. So I feel like I'm sliding down my chair. And I got to sheer frustration. I thought, I've had so many clients over the years that said, David, when you've found me the tenant, you've all the front end stuff has been impeccable. I can't fault it. But then when it goes to your property management, it's terrible. They can't look after me. I'm not getting calls back. I'm chasing them. And you've promised me a service and you're not delivering on it. And I felt that I was lying to people. I felt that I was providing a service that I knew that my back end staff couldn't maintain. And I felt awful. And then I got to a stage where I thought, I can't do this anymore from the integrity's perspective. I need to be able to have people on the back end that would do it. And I had no control over employment. In fact, they would even employ staff for me without even letting them meet me. How do you know they're going to fit with me? That's the thing. So anyway, I decided to leave. And it was like in the movies where the background's all blowing up and you're walking a rave just facing the front. It was like that. So I went to join another company that said, oh, we are a family. We look after our staff. We do this, we do that. Said all the right things. And then I worked out after a year, same, different company, you know? And it was just a different name above the door. We've got this code of ethics and this and that, and we do this differently to you. No, you do it exactly the same. You just called it something different.
You branded it.
Yeah, I know I play the Joker a lot. I'm very out there and fun, but I'm not an idiot, you know. And I just thought, no, they've sold me down the river here. You know, they've put a package in place, and this isn't working. And then I saw how they manage things, and I just thought, one, you're not putting your employees first because you speak to them like crap, pardon my French. You know, you talk down to them, they are your equal. You should not talk down to them, regardless of who you are, what you've done. We are all still equal here, and remember that. And that's why people that work with me, I treat them nicely, you know, and with respect, and they tend to want to stay and they tend to want to perform. So then I got to another level of frustration. I would bring things to senior level and say, are you aware of this court case that went on? This could set case precedent. This could be new legislation. Oh, we're not going to worry about that. Okay, well, maybe put something in place just in case. No, we're not going to worry about that. It's too hard. And I just thought, no, this isn't for me. So then there was a point, and I just thought, I've had enough. So I spoke to a landlord client of mine, and I said, look, you're an accountant. You've got a few properties. I'm thinking of setting up a company. And I just thought, do you know what? I've got the support of ARLA Property Mart. I know some good agents across the country, and I've got a can-do attitude. And I just thought, I'm going to do it. So he said, look into the loan for this company, blah, 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 take that out. I took out a £25,000 loan. And I remember this day where I was sitting there in August, and I had this big company conference that I was going to, and my loan was approved on my phone. I got the email saying, congratulations, your £25,000 loan is approved and the money's in your account. I checked my account, 25k in my account. I was like, whoa, this just got real. And I thought, do I go to this conference or do I just drive home? And it was Milton Keynes. I thought, well, I'll go just to show my face. And I knew that I was out, and I handed in my notice and they said, can we have a chat? I said, we can, but I'm out. I just want to get away from this. And then I went it on my own. Now, I didn't take any of my old clients because I was very sure about that, but people knew where I was going because they saw me all over, like you said, all over social media.
I'd met you.
Yeah, and this is it. And it's like they came on board, and I said, look, if you want to come on board, that's fine. You know, I'm not dragging you over because there's a conflict there, and it would, from an integrity perspective, I don't want to go fishing for my old clients. If they thought my service was great, they will come to me, and a lot of them have come back to me, Sally. And then I just thought, it's funny because I remember saying to my wife about this, and she was thinking, I'm really worried about this. I said, what are you worried about? She said, no, I'm not worried about you because I know your ability. I know how passionate you are. You'll make anything work, but I'm just worried that the business won't work. I said, well, who's responsible for making it work? She said, well, you. I said, well, there you go. There's your answer. And 2 years in, we're one of the highest rated agents in our area for Google 5-star reviews. We've won 3 or 4 different awards. And people are just contacting us off social media. So we don't do, again, this might set the cat amongst the pigeons. We don't do leaflets through doors and canvassing and stuff like that, because we want to be, you know, relatively paper free and environmentally friendly, but we like to share it on social media because it's free. You know, why would I want to pay for something I can do for free? Because that way we can give value back to our clients as well. So yeah, it's just gone from there, and it's gone crazy. I set up lettings in October 2018, officially launched, and I knew that by December my loan would run out because all my business expenditure, you know, redress scheme, insurances, website, everything, you know, Rightmove alone, £1,600 a month, but we won't even talk about that. All of those costs, I know that I had to bear and then start doing some business. So for me, it was make or break. I had 3 months to make it work, and within 3 months the loan had run out. It was squeaky bum time, and I was just going at it. I was doing 13, 14 hours a day in my loft room, setting the company up 6 days a week. And I just thought, because when you do a business plan, they'll also ask your contingency if it fails. I didn't do that bit. I was like, it's not going to fail. I can't let this fail. It will not fail.
And as they say, you burnt the boats.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't burn any bridges, so to speak, but basically I made sure that it wasn't going to fail. It couldn't fail. And I just thought, I have to make this work because I want to. And yeah, I'm over the moon now. I've never worked so hard in my life, but I've never been so happy either.
Amazing. I mean, working for yourself, you're free, you can make your own decisions, and you succeed or fail based on your decisions, which is what it's
exactly.
about, isn't it?
Yeah, like I'll look at something and then I'm putting together a moving pack, so to speak, and I think I don't like the way that's set out. I'm going to make a change, so I can then go into my software, rewrite that part of the software, and then implement it immediately. I don't have to go to a director, a senior director, get it proofread. I don't have to have a business meeting, then a go-to meeting, then a web chat, then put it on a spreadsheet. It's done. I can say to myself, I like that. Does my property manager like it? Does my neg like it? Let's implement it. Sorry,
there's a lesson to be learned there for people that are perhaps in your ex-boss's position, that said that, and I think you're probably right, that you intimidated them. And I can think of a few conversations I've had with people, business owners over the last few years, that perhaps have got somebody really driven, and their challenge is how to handle and manage somebody like that. And I think it's recognizing when you've got a cut glass diamond in your hand, and knowing what to do with it. It's tough, isn't it? Because all the egos come into play, and he's trying to steal my thing, and he's better than me. And what would you say to somebody, not necessarily ex-boss, but somebody, if you knew of somebody that was in that position as a boss and had got someone like you, what would you say to them as a piece of advice?
One piece of advice would be, you've employed them to do a job and you want them to excel and smash their targets and be awesome, but you've got to allow them to do that. I mean, certain people need reining in and certain things. I mean, I'd said some stuff, and I had such a rapport with my clients, Sally, that I would speak to them in an odd way that not a lot of people could, but that's the relationship we had. And I had employers that said, well, I don't like relationships like that. But my advice to those employers would be, you know, there's got to be a structure in place, and people have to follow code of conduct and procedure. I absolutely believe in that. But The best salespeople are the ones that are quite not highly strung, but very much they know what they want, they know what they need to do, and it's reining them into a certain degree and say, look, this is how it was. And my old boss, Rob, who managed me for several years, we're like best of friends now. We get on so well, and there was a period where, you know, we had to test that water a bit, and he had to rein me in a couple of times, but I respected him so much because his knowledge was so expertise. Now, the trouble in the industry we're in, I find a lot of agents are very good and very knowledgeable, and there's some very knowledgeable young agents out there. But if their boss or their leader, however you want to frame it up, doesn't have the knowledge base that they have, then it's hard for them to respect that person. I mean, I've been in a situation where I've had operations directors come in to take over the running of a business that's very important, and they've never let a property in their life. They've never stood outside and done a viewing. They've never put a tenancy agreement together. They have no idea what's actually happening on the coalface. So my advice to them, and I know I've yabbered on a bit, Sally, is allow these people to flourish, but try and not control them, but keep them in a way that you constantly keep them interested, you constantly incentivize them, and you allow them to be heard. Because the thing is, a lot of their ideas will be good and should be put into practice because they're on the front line, whereas you get to a certain directorship level, you're too far back. Now, one thing I've always said was, I don't want to be so far detached from my business, I don't know what's happening. So I still book viewings, I still attend viewings, because I want to keep my hand in, I want to talk to people, and I want to see what's happening on the street, you know, what's going on out there.
That doesn't surprise me. Now, what would you say, I mean, to start a new business in 2018, which was just before the tenant fee ban, which was a huge thing in our industry, yeah, swear word in our industry. Basically, it's where we all were going to lose 25% of our revenue, roughly, is no mean task. So you must have learned some very interesting things over the last couple of years. What would you say, David, to start a business in one of the toughest times in our industry, I would say? What's been the big secret to success for you?
A combination of things. I think good support network. So my wife, the only time she asks what time I'm coming home is about dinner. You know, she says, I'm not nagging you, I just want to know whether to do dinner for you. That's fine. You know, a lot of people aren't that supportive of their career-driven partners. You've got to have one that's not a career-driven person and one that is, so to speak. So it's finding that balance. The work-life balance is essential. Also, you've got to have a can-do attitude, you know. And I always say to people, the only boundaries that are in the way are the ones you put up for yourself. So don't let anything get in your way. To a certain degree, nothing should stop you, really. Lawfully, you know, there's only so far you can go with certain things. So it's just being dedicated to the cause and having an achievement and setting a goal. So you'd say, you know, you want to be here in 5 years' time, but a lot of people just want to get there. They don't look at the journey in between. And I think the fun bit is the journey on how you get there. And I don't know if you remember, I think it was a few years back, I attended one of your courses, actually, and it was really insightful. And there was a few bits that I came across, and I just thought, it makes you think outside of the box. Like we were doing, I think it was about how you incentivize staff. And I said, you know, you give them a basic and you give them a fantastic on-target earnings, which is achievable. So they're constantly striving to do well. Because the thing is, the way I work and the way a lot of lettings businesses should really work is, it is a numbers game, but it's quality and quantity. So say, for example, I would give my staff £100. I know it sounds a lot, and a lot of employers out there are going to go, oh, I can't do that. £100 for every 5-star Google review they get, because that's where it's at. That's where your business grows. So it's just dedication to the cause and being consistent. You know, social media, as you know, Sally, you're consistent all the time, consistently delivering the message and keeping it going, because a lot of people will look at social media and go, oh, I only got 3 likes on my post, and they won't post again. But what they don't realize is the effect that they're having on the people that don't actually physically like it. You know, I met with an agent about 6 or 7 months ago, out and about. I spoke to him and he said, God, you're doing really well, and it's great to see. And your post you did on that subject really was good, and it made me think. And I thought, oh, okay, he didn't like it, but it had that effect. And people don't realize you're always having an effect on people. I mean, when I spoke out about some mental health issues I had ages ago, I did an interview with Chris Watkin. I just thought, I went there to talk about my business journey as we are here. And Chris Watkins got a way of getting stuff out of you, as you know. And I ended up talking about my father passing away and my breakdown that I had, and it kind of opened things up. And then all of a sudden, I had a load of messages from LinkedIn from people going, "Thank you so much for that. I've been wanting to open up, and I felt like this." And I was talking with these people for a period of time. I just thought that's nice, because at least they can see there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, and we're all human at the end of the day.
Yeah, of course there is.
So this has been really fascinating, actually, David. I really enjoyed talking to you today. But one final question is, what's next for David Votta? Where are we at? I know you're going to be president in a couple of years, but what's the plan? Where are you going with this?
Retirement. No, I'm joking. I
can't see you ever retiring, to be fair.
No,
that's on the agenda.
No, I get bored. I don't actually know. I'm one of these people that I'm fond of a 5-year plan. I think what's next for me, expansion, I guess, Sally, really. I mean, we're doing really well in our area, but we expand out to other areas as well. So for me, it's exponential growth is what I would say. I want to do that. I want to raise awareness. I want to be the face of the industry so that people can look and say, well, actually, I want to look at what David's doing, because he's promoting this. You know, he's promoting, you know, regulation. He's promoting professionalism. And I want to be able to inspire people. You know, that's what I want to do. I'm not, you know, I haven't got the time to set up training and stuff like that. What I want to do is be able to, when I appear on bits and pieces, I want to be able to inspire, but I want people to look at me and think, well, actually, if he can do it, you know, because I'm not the smartest person in the world, Sally, but when it comes to my specialist subject lettings, I love it. I absolutely love it. And when there's a new regulation, I'm like, right, I'm going to get to the nitty gritty of that. I want to understand it. And it's just growth, I think, growing on what we've done already and inspiring the next generation of agents. So I mean, I put a post on LinkedIn a few weeks ago saying, how many of you left school thinking I'm going to be an estate and letting agent? Because I don't know anyone. And there was about 6 people. And I thought, wow, that's 6 people I never knew. So there is some, but I want to reach out to the younger generation. So when they're at sixth form or whatever they're doing, business studies, whatever they're going to do, I want them to think, actually, I want to be an estate or letting agent because there's value in it. And there's huge gratification in finding people's homes. And it's a good job to have. It's nice, you know.
Amazing. It's interesting because Chris Watkin interviewed me about 3 years ago, I think, and he said, "What's the goal?" And I said, "For children to leave school and say, I want to be a letting agent."
Really?
Exactly what I said.
Isn't that funny?
It is, isn't it? But it is so true, because we're an industry that people fall into or end up in or accidentally arriving. Nobody says, I want to be a letting agent. They just sort of end up here, which is really weird, isn't it? Guys, you've been absolutely amazing. For those of you listening to this and watching this, this will be posted on the Agent Rainmaker podcast. You'll also be able to see it in the Agent Rainmaker Facebook group. If you haven't joined there, then join in, if you are a letting agent, of course. And David, you've been absolutely amazing. I can wish you so much luck in the future.
Thank you very much.
And I know you'll get there. And I'm going to really enjoy watching the journey everywhere. I've seen you on social media. Absolutely. Thank you so much.